Hey everybody, welcome to the launch of the American Party. Actually, it's just two old inmates trying to make sense where there really isn't any sense. This is Jack and GT here from Fed joints to beer joints, and we got a new party launching. All hell breaking loose. Tell me about this thing. You're this third party stuff.
Well, I like it myself. It's obviously this two-party rule isn't working. And right now, I don't like it that one party has all the power, and in 4 years it might be the other party, and I won't like it that they do their woke agenda or whatever. And Elon, he's I'm not. I don't agree with him on everything, but he's willing to put his money up, and he's got some other people. I guess he's not looking for a lot, looking for a couple, 2 or 3 Senate seats and 10 or 12 House seats. But that would give him the voting block, wouldn't it?
I think of what the thing he's doing different, and I'm going to go back. Trump came out with one of his, completely online, truthful statements, but he did say one thing. He says third parties have never succeeded. That's not accurate, actually. The third party, the Republicans, when the Whigs were in office, they succeeded. Forget that. Third parties have succeeded. They have impacted elections many times. And he forgets that. George Bush Sr.'s election was impacted. George Wallace impacted an election back in the 70s or late 60s, wherever it was. So they do have an impact. But I want to point you, and you said something earlier about Musk is thinking a little differently. He's not trying to sweep into office. He's trying to get selective seats that can block legislation. That's smart.
Because he gets to pick sides, and he has to get concessions that make sense. And you're right. And Ralph Nader did it, and that woman probably cost Hillary 1% of the vote. And that's not what Musk is really talking about presidential stuff. He's talking about legislative stuff. And right now, it came down to the vice president had to settle this big ugly spending bill, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
whole.
one vote.
This wouldn't happen without that bill. This wouldn't be talked about right now because the bill, the big bulbous bill, which is now the big bulbous law, it's pretty amazing what's inside that bill. The cuts are being made, the tax breaks are being given. I actually watched Fox a while ago, an interview where they were saying that no one understands that this tax savings for the average person out there is going to elevate the economy to the point it's going to take care of the deficit. There is no new tax savings. This thing's been in effect since 2017. In fact, Biden signed on to it even. And so it's not changing for them. And that's just a blatant lie. The other problem with it is this. Since 2017, that tax bill itself has added up to the deficit because they are saying, but people go out and spend more money in the economy and stuff, then that way it pushes the economy up. But the government has to quit spending if people save money on taxes. That ain't gonna happen. This is a
That's not going
credit
to happen.
card bill. This whole bill is a credit card bill, the whole thing.
Yeah, it's that's what they did, put it on the credit card. And not to mention, about 90% of the tax benefits are going to people that aren't going to run out and spend it. They're the Jeff Bezoses of the world that just spent 50 million on a wedding, but he spent it in Europe, not in America. When they build a new super yacht, they're built in Germany. They're not built in America. Them people, they have everything. And if you want to give tax breaks, give it to you, give it to me. Probably most of the people that watch or listen to us, give it to them. They'll spend it. They'll buy groceries. They'll buy a new car. They'll buy a new refrigerator. And that trickle down economics, they know it doesn't work if you're skewering it towards the top. The top don't need as many things.
And I'm a recovering trickle down economics guy. I believed in it at one time when I was very young, but it doesn't work, never has worked. That means you have to control the spending every household in the country because together it takes them all together to get anywhere next to a Jeff Bezos who's not going to spend it on those type of things. Their analysis on the bill is someone who makes $3.3 million a year and they average all these things out. It's going to get a tax cut of $118,000. And then you turn around and the bottom quintile, and that's their word, they lose on average $560. The lowest wage earners will actually lose $560. Now, I don't know whether they're coming up with these numbers, but I guarantee the lower level isn't going to get any part of 118,000.
Well, no, they're going to lose services. and so that's how they're losing their money. I read another one. It was they had it at 1,600 for the lowest percentile. I'm looking at this bill for $170 billion for ICE and border security, billion, and to build new facilities in that, and uh, another 150 for the Defense Department, and they don't even say for what. And yet, if they went through if they go through these new defense contractors like Anduril and stuff, actually defense spending should come down because it's all getting cheaper and it's all drones and autonomous flying stuff. We don't really need to be spending any more money on defense. We should be cutting it back and spending it more wisely.
Well, they say we have the greatest military in the world. Trump even said that himself, yet they're going to add to it. I don't get it. So this spawned back to our original topic, and we can go about that bill forever, and we will on some other segments. But this is what's spawning the America Party, this basically this bill. But there's a couple differences, and this is one where I take this party real serious. And this is a guy that who's coming out right now, and he wants to talk to Elon on how to move this forward. Mark Cuban. He's reaching out, and he's an active guy. Mark Cuban is not eccentric. Mark Cuban's not a
No.
whack. Mark Cuban
Yeah.
he's a guy I've always wanted a businessman to run for president. Trump's not a businessman, but I always
No,
wanted
he's a
one.
con man.
Yeah, he's con, and it
Yeah.
works. And so I always wanted to, but Mark Cuban would be my first choice now. Lee Iacocca, as I often mention, was my first choice many years ago. But so this is serious. This isn't BS. And I don't think Elon Musk, when he gets a bone going, he lets off real easy.
No, you know what else is funny is that Mark Cuban, he indicated support on X, dropping cryptic encouragement, referencing ballot access assistant. Mark Cuban had already approached this third party thing, and he said, he'd be willing to help get him in the states. And they don't really have to. We're back to that. They don't have to get it on all 50 states. They're going to target areas. I don't know if you also know what you had talked about it, Anthony Scaramucci. He was a part of Trump's team the first time. He owns an investment group now, I think some kind of a hedge fund. And then who else also just approached him is Andrew Wang, who ran for president. And I liked Andrew Wang. And he talked about a universal income for all Americans, and the wealthy and everyone getting X amount a year. Of course, they're going to end up paying for theirs, but I've been reading, and there's a lot of people talking about now out of Silicon Valley that AI is going to change the workplace so much and it's going to make us more efficient, so we're making more money, that there might have to be a universal income for everyone, because there's going to be a lot of people out of work.
Yeah, well, the thing is, and some of that might sound actually wacko to people. I'm not sure how I feel about the universal income thing
Right.
myself, but I will say AI is changing everything. If you think
Yeah.
it's not, I'm 67 years old. I'm an ex-con inmate, whatever the hell you want to call me. I use AI every day. It helps me in writing. It helps me in song. I look at the thing, helps me edit some things. I worked on it for a different rhythm for a song just last night to test it out, and it helped me on that. Research, fall back. Now, it's not always right. It's not perfected. Don't get for a second think that I go to it for my ideas to talk about here. I go back to do data search, that type of thing, and then you double check it. I use a couple different AIs to do that. But then you have to really pour into stuff. But it's changing everything. And if you folks use AI and GT, I think you got to agree with this. You can see how it's goddamn world changing. No question.
Oh, like I said, that I see it. I see it at work when I see the Teslas driving over from the factory and parking themselves in the parking lot where the trucks are. And it stops when I'm pulling my truck by. It'll stop and flash its lights, and then it waits for me to go by, and it goes and pulls itself in a parking lot. Well, that may sound like, well, big deal. They drive themselves over from the factory, but they're driving themselves all over now. The taxi services are already, they're going to Uber, and all of them are eventually, there's not going to be Uber drivers. So there goes the gig economy, right there. And if they can figure out the robotics to deliver the food, except, They're going to figure that out. And you know, it's coming, and there's no stopping it, and it's going to affect a lot of people. So our whole business, our whole income model for people is going to have to change.
And we talked about this before. I'm going to bring it up again. The reason AI will accelerate is the amount of money being dumped into it by Jeff Bezos and people like that who are trying to use AI to eliminate their workforce because AI is much less expensive for them to run. It doesn't pay benefits. You don't have to worry about taxes on overtime. There is no overtime.
Do you know what's funny on that Jeff Bezos subject too? Do you know that years ago, what he was doing instead, his employees, once they started getting, like after a couple years, 3 years, and if he was going to have to start paying them more, he was basically just letting them go and hiring new employees. And then he had to stop that because he was becoming so big, he was going to run out of employees. Everybody that was interested in that kind of work, which is where I live in Inland Empire. It's the biggest one in the world. They're everywhere here, and so he had to stop and start paying a little more and retaining his employees. But his original model was replacement of employees. Well, I think he was looking at this, and he was onto the AI thing long before it became big, I'm sure. And I think that's been his business plan all along, was to get rid of his employees.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Back to the American Party. Now we're going to give you folks basically have to be opinion. What's your thoughts on the American Party? What will be their platform if they have one? And I assume they will, regardless of run locally or not.
Well, here's a platform promoting uh, fiscal conservatism, debt reduction, technological innovation, AI, robotics, modernization in the military, which I had mentioned, because Elon's been telling Trump for a while now, hey, all the fighter pilot stuff and all that, you're going to need some, but don't do $1 trillion weapons programs like the F-35, which was an abject failure. And as opposed to autonomous AI powered small fighters that you just give them a basic parameter and they go find it themselves and blow it up. And then it says pro natalist policies, less bureaucracy, regulation, expanded free speech. Um, which is speech is under attack from both
Right, right.
sides. From both sides. If you say anything bad about Trump now, watch out, especially if you're a naturalized citizen. He's talking about deporting Musk. I don't know. And yet, and if you say anything about the trans people or anything, oh my God, you're gonna get whatever from the left. So he's got some good things, and but somebody has to keep him in check, and Mark Cuban might be the guy to do it.
Probably the only guy because you have to because
Yeah.
Musk has really got some issues himself, and the problem he and Trump both have their ego and their vanity, at play all the time. They're a couple real tough guys. Can you see them out in the street? Can you see them in the joint? Either one of them. Can you imagine?
That's what I think. Yeah, they're both one slap away from sucking a prick. That
Oh
would
yeah,
be
both of them
it.
are. Both of them are. And I
Yeah, they're
defy
soft as
anybody.
cotton.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I defy anybody who tells me Trump's a tough guy. Yeah, dude, it's shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's tough. All right.
He's soft as cotton.
Yeah, he
He's
is.
a typical schoolyard bully. He was a rich kid that was tall, and he's not a tough guy at all. And
No.
Musk got called out by when he challenged uh, Zuckerberg to a UFC fight, and Zuckerberg trains for that shit. He goes, "Yeah, let's go." And Musk said, "Nah, I don't want to do that." Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you got those two in there, but uh, I have. This is going to sound strange. I have some hope for the American Party because we definitely need something. And everybody, not everybody, a lot of people I talked to said they don't have any faith in the two-party system. Well, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
but this could, if it doesn't work, it could evolve into two parties again. But you got to have some party that has some ability to actually speak for people because we have reached a point. Because every poll I have seen, every poll, not just some of them, every poll had this bill underwater, not in favor of it. Even Fox had to admit it. It was, and so they just go ahead and do this thing like our governor in Iowa does. I know what's better. Well, they know what's better for them, And that's the issue. And that's where this bill came from. It did.
Think about this bill. I mean, the sad thing was it. They rushed it. This is a 900-page bill. This was the biggest spending bill in history, basically, and they rushed it in a month. This should be well thought out. They should they should do a do a little research on every subject. Most of the Congress didn't even know it was in this bill that we're
No.
voting on it because Trump wanted it out for the 4th of July announcement, and instead of doing it right, they did it quick. And we've done things in our business, Jack, where okay, we got to do it now, and instead of doing it right, and so it's not just him. I mean, if you rush into things just to get it done on a certain time scale, half the time it's not going to be right.
Myself more than halftime, I think.
Yeah.
But you're right. To me, when you get a bill, I think that you've got to be a little more pragmatic when you're spending that kind of money. It was when it started out, it was well over 1,000 pages long.
Okay.
So anyway, and there's so many footnotes in those things. I'm not getting off those details, but you need to take a little more time. You're talking about taking people's health care away from them and spending billions of dollars and putting the company trillions of dollars and more in debt. Is that all I can ask people at home is this here. Can you take your entire household budget and from now until 2028, when some of this stuff goes away, do nothing but use credit cards, nothing but credit cards, okay, for all of it, and then be able to pay that off? I mean,
Never.
hoping that's what they're talking about. The people are going to spend enough money to take care of that, a credit card bill.
Well, he already did that and I don't like to put it on Trump. Other
What's all of
presidents
it?
have tried it. Yeah, there's trickle down thing. His first tax thing, they said, was going to pay for itself, and it didn't. What was his deficit? 9 trillion or something during his first presidency.
But they
I
said
forget
the
now.
direct downfall from it was 1.5 trillion directly, and it never recovered from it.
Yeah,
And so you look at that, that's deficit. So that's one of the
yeah.
biggest expansions in the deficit in all time. The problem, I go back to what I said before, you can't control a deficit if you're spending more money on the credit card. You can't.
No,
How the hell do you do
no.
that? I mean, look at people go to these credit card programs all the time. What's the first thing you do? First thing you do, you stop using the
Yeah.
credit card.
Take the shovel and throw it out of the hole that you're digging. Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
I did it to try to start a business. I knew better, but I did a calculated gamble on mine. But yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. What's the thing? The first, if you're in a hole, the first thing to do is stop digging.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they just keep digging.
Yeah.
Before we run out of here, you got any last comments or thoughts on the American Party or what's going to happen?
I'm in. It's funny. I'm in California, so they're not going to probably target us. And I'm in a suburban. I'm not in a rural area, which they might charge. I still would probably register for it and then vote and I wouldn't vote in the primary election. I'm a registered independent now, so if they can get one going, it's a different time than Ross Perot. It's a different time now. The people weren't this polarized as they are now and sick of government. It's worse now, and we're on the edge of the thing I'm afraid about is you talk one more thing about this credit card thing. I'm worried about what has Trump always done with his businesses after he ran them into debt? Bankruptcy. He thinks he can bankrupt America and I think his plan is to fuck all the creditors and
He's always
doesn't
done
really
that.
realize what'll happen to the global economy if he does that because he has no concept of economics.
Yeah.
He thinks he can just bankrupt the country like he did his businesses.
He does. He walks away from it, and that's
Yeah.
it's not how it's going to work. And he's bankrupting every household in the country when he does that. That's what he's doing.
Right.
He doesn't give a shit. Some MAGA people challenge me on that one. Look
Right.
at his history. Apparently, you didn't.
Yeah.
I'm but the American Party you're in, I'm definitely in. And I'm going to tell you what, we will be seeing the party here in the Midwest because we got two Senate seats. One because she's ineffective, the other one because he's inept now because he doesn't know where he's at. He's got Bidenism going through his veins.
Chuck,
Yeah, Chuck is just no. That's go home now, Chuck. And Jody Ernst just they're here's the biggest. She's been in a short time, flip flops so many times, look like a cart at Long Beach. So they need to do something, and they will. And we got a couple of little house seats I think can be flipped. We got a hot one, and she's definitely a Trumpy. She thinks this bill is wonderful, and so we'll see.
You guys are going to be one of the target states. I didn't even think about it. I just knew my state wasn't going to be. You guys are going to be one of the target states. Yeah.
We are, and we should be, and I hope they do.
Yeah.
I hope they do
Yeah.
target this. And everybody understand, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not even a Republican anymore. I was a
Yeah.
long time Republican, and I am now cheering against the party that I worked with, worked for, and now it's gone, totally gone, 100%. I take it back. You got a couple people, a congressman from Kentucky, and you got a senator out east who's quitting because he can't deal with it. That's what's left of our party. Pretty goddamn sad. Anyway. That's it for right now. We'll be back again soon. That's Jack and GT here from Fed Joints and Beer Joints. And listen, folks, reach down and subscribe for us. Make a comment. Let us know what you think. And if you got an idea you want to talk to us about, go ahead and do it. If you think we're wrong, tell us. If you think we're right, just give us a thumbs up. Any last comments, GT, before we fly on out of here?
That will do it.
All right, folks, we'll talk to you soon. Hang in there. It's got to get better.